So, I want to start by saying that, in fact, right now, what we're seeing in Gaza is not a war. We speak about a war, but there is no organized resistance to the IDF now in Gaza. The IDF is in full control of Gaza. There are obviously some guerrilla units here and there that may pop up and fire a rocket at a tank, and if they're lucky, then they kill some soldiers. But generally, there is no war anymore. What the IDF is doing there is destroying Gaza. So the soldiers, those that I hear about, those that I've heard reports about, uh, one thing I would say is that many of them, when they come out, mostly reserve soldiers, whatever their opinion is about what's happening, say that it's absolutely incredible, that they have never seen and could never imagine such devastation. People use imagery like they speak, it looks like Hiroshima. It looks like Germany at the end of World War II. The whole area is completely destroyed. And there are horrific accounts of bodies rotting, being eaten by dogs, of soldiers shooting at anyone who moves in particular areas. Now, soldiers may still think, and we don't know how many of them, they may still think that they're fighting for a just cause. But the point of it is that there is no real resistance anymore. And the question is then, what is this war about? What is it trying to accomplish? And on the ground, what you're seeing is it's actually a war of annihilation of the entire Gaza Strip with a particular focus on the northern part of it, north of the so-called Netzarim corridor, which is no longer a corridor, it's really a square. And similarly in the south, in the area that borders Egypt, the so-called Philadelphia corridor, which is also expanding constantly into Rafah and destroying it. And the population is being run around from one place to another to so-called safe zones, which are then being bombed and shelled by the IDF. So this is the reality on the ground. In early May 2024, the IDF decided to move into Rafah, into the southernmost city in the Gaza Strip, despite the US telling it not to do so, because there were about 1 million displaced civilians there who had been displaced because the IDF told them to go there for their own safety. And the IDF went in anyway and moved those hundreds and hundreds of thousands of civilians one more time. Many of them were displaced by then for a third, fourth, fifth time, to a beach area, to the Mawasi area, which is along the beach, without any infrastructure at all. And then went on, proceeded to destroy much of Rafah, which it's still in the process of doing. So at that point, I started looking back, going back to the statements that were made by Israeli politicians and leaders at the beginning of the war, as you recall, which were genocidal statements, but one could have said were made in the heat of the moment, as the blood was boiling, as they said in Israel, and to look what happened. And if you look at the pattern of what the IDF has been doing, not only has it been moving the population around, and every safe zone that it ends up in tends to get also bombed and shelled and attacked from the air, but also systematically destroying universities, schools, mosques, museums, anything that makes, and hospitals, of course, anything that makes for the health and also the culture of a group. And therefore, by now, we have a population that is being completely debilitated, with vast numbers of people suffering, those who are alive, suffering from skin diseases, from intestinal diseases, lack of food, lack of water. There's been systematic destruction of desalination plants, not enough supply of water coming in from Israel, no energy. And so it looks like that the goal is to make Gaza uninhabitable for its population, and those who survive. The hope, I think, of many Israeli policymakers in this government, which is very right-wing, is that eventually there will be calls for humanitarian aid to those people to remove them from that area, which they cannot live in, to other places, and therefore cleanse it entirely of the Palestinian population.